everybody, welcome to the Reno Bros. Today we are doing a really cool project. This is going to be a refinishing of this butcher block countertop. And as you can see, we've got some damage here and just some fading of the wood or the old stain. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this old finish. We're going to sand it down, get it prepped for the new finish, and we'll show you every step of the process, including how to remove a sink and get around some of the fixtures that we have in our way. So that's the project. So let's just get into the video.
So first we're just moving things out of our way so we have room to work. Then we're going to cut the caulk lines of the sink and get underneath. Start removing some of the things. Make sure you have a tub to catch any drips of water that are going to fall from these fixtures. Make sure all of the water is emptied, and then you're going to remove the faucet itself and the sink. In this particular unit there is a garbage disposal, so we're just going to disconnect that, get the wire removed. You want to make sure you turn the breaker off for that wire so you don't shock yourself. And then get the sink out of the way, unhook all of these bolts, nuts and everything, get it all pulled out of the way so we can start removing this finish on the countertop, then get rid of that extra caulk that's going to be in our way, vacuum it all up. Alright, so here we're using a card scraper and a carbide scraper to get by the edges. I'll include links in the description so you can purchase those things. But we just want to get all the excess caulk off of the edges, and we also want to be able to get a nice stripped down surface to be able to sand without clogging up our sanding pads too quickly. So this is just a nice tool to have, this card scraper. It was a little dull the day that I used it, but it's a good tool to have. Here we're just using a 150 grit sanding pad to get down to the bare wood. We want to remove all of that finish and all the stain that was previously on there. You can see how dark, there's like a dark walnut stain that was previously on this countertop, and it was much darker than what the customer wanted. Here we're just vacuuming and cleaning the surface before we put anything on. And here we're using a product called Fiddes Hard Wax Oil. This is clear satin, and this is one of the best products out there to use for countertops. A lot of people use just oil finishes, but this actually leaves a more polyurethane type finish where it's a hard surface, durable, and that'll be a good solution for this, and it'll last really well.
Okay, so we have the first coat on this, and the can says to leave 4 hours for dry time. So we're gonna come back in 4 hours and put a second coat on, but already I can tell that this is looking fantastic, and I cannot wait to see what it looks like when everything's back in place and it's all done.
Now you're going to make sure between coats to just do a light sanding, because there's going to be some little coarse bumps on the previous surface when it dries, and that'll just make sure that you get a nice smooth surface when you apply the second coat. This is the second coat, and yeah, just apply it on the same way you did the first coat, and everything should be awesome. Now here we're just sliding things back in place and putting things back so that the customer can use their kitchen. In the meantime, we're going to be back a few days later, so we want to make sure that this kitchen is functional. So we're putting the fixtures back together, putting the sink down in. We're going to have to remove the fixtures actually when we come back to caulk, but that's the next step, and this countertop is looking amazing.
All right, so we are gonna caulk. We are going to finish up this project, and that's it. Let's do it.
Now this is us just removing those fixtures again. We didn't caulk anything when we set it down in so the customer could use it, but we're just gonna quick do a removal and then get to the caulking portion. We're also gonna scrape off the old plumber's putty that is gonna get in the way and apply some caulk just so that the sink gets sealed properly to the countertop.
Okay, we are prepped and ready. We taped these lines. You always want to do that when you're working with something that's going to be seen in terms of a caulk line. You want that joint to be pristine, perfect, straight, And what happens when you don't tape is it gets uneven as you're thinning it out, as your finger slicking it. You can see it kind of gushes out in weird ways. So we're using the tape to get a nice clean line.
And you're going to want to make sure that when you apply the tape, you hold it back sufficiently from the edge so that there's enough surface area for the caulk to adhere to. I'd say about 1/8 inch would be plenty on both the countertop and the backsplash. Now here we're removing it, and you're just going to make sure that none of that caulky edge of the tape touches any finished surface that you're working with. The last step is to do the exact same thing with the sink. We're going to use clear silicone here just to give it a nice finished look, and then it'll all be sealed so that no water will transition from the countertop under the sink by way of the gap between the two.
All right, so that's it. We are finished with this project. It looks fantastic. Couldn't be more pleased with how it turned out. If you tackle this project on your own, please send us pictures of how it turned out. We'd love to see that. And as always, comment down below, like this video, and subscribe to our channel to see more great DIY content.